this presentation, I will suggest an analysis of the way the female body is presented in ballet, and argue that classical ballet is a medium of art that's primary purpose is to entertain, and in which the body, and in particular the female body, is utilized to satisfy this mostly aesthetic need that is very much masculine in its perception. I want to offer two ways in which ballet does that. The first is the themes used in classical ballet that are often depicting a very traditional set of values that maintain ideas of male power. And the second is the enormous gap that exists between the body of the dancer as it really is and the body of the dancer as it's represented and as it's perceived by the audience. I will use examples from the ballet Giselle, which was written in Europe of the 19th century by the French composer Adolphe Adam. First, I want to put us in context and clarify the state of classical ballet at the time. By the 19th century, ballet existed for about 300 years and was already developed into an art form of itself, consisting not only of the strict technique and typical movements, but also of designated music, costumes, and stage design. It was very popular in Europe of that time, and so was the prima ballerina, the lead female dancer and the most central and popular figure in most ballets. Ballet at the time, like other forms of art in different periods, served for the audience as a sort of escapism, an alternative to the real world. Romantic ballets plotted dramatic, appealing, fantasy-like stories that drew on fairy tales from traditional folklores. Those stories dealt mostly with universal, emotional, private matters like true love and heartbreaks, and in that way provided the audience with an identifiable emotional experience that was a break from the chaotic outside world. Staying in this private realm, those stories weren't meant to challenge any world order, including that of male dominance. In Giselle, for example, an innocent village girl falls in love with a duke in disguise. When she finds out his real identity, her heart breaks, as she knows they could never be together, and she dances in sadness until she dies in his arms. The Willies are supernatural characters that are the spirits of virgins that were betrayed by their lovers and died before they married, and so they hunt the forest at night looking for men to kill. Those depictions of women characterize a very binary perception of females, one that supports conservative views of gender roles. Consistent with this simplified characterization of women is the way the body itself is perceived. Since the body is the primary way in which ballet communicates its story and expresses its emotions, the focus is always on the ballerina's body. This body is always thin but strong, always young, and always, no matter if the dancer is dancing a happy or a sad dance, is unrealistically elegant and controlled. As if it's obvious, effortless, to stand on your toes for hours, when in reality it requires hours of practice and immense control, flexibility, strength, and delicateness, all at the same time. The extreme boundaries that the female body is asked to cross seemingly so casually, as if it's completely normal that a woman's body will move this way, creates a contrast for the audience, as they understand that this is exceptional, but since this fascination is derived from a unique beauty and not from a sense of strangeness or guilt, no sense of empathy is developed. Once recognizing its pleasurable abilities, the audience expects the young and pretty body who dances in front of them to satisfy a certain need for some spectacle, and the expectation from the dancer is to not only be good, but to be perfect, as falls or signs of exhaustion are not an option in ballet. The Willies in Giselle extend this gap between the dancer's real body and the way in which it's perceived by the audience, in that their supernatural character help the audience to commit to this illusion of the performance. Moving together on point shoes, they create the sense they are floating in the air and make the audience stare at this seemingly unnatural phenomena. But again, this isn't an unpleasant fascination. On the contrary, the bodies are strange but beautiful and aesthetic. Their symmetry and coordinated movement, complemented by the bride-like costumes and long tours, create this delicate, pleasurable feeling that makes the stare one that isn't rejecting reality, but lets go into it, and forgets that the dancing bodies are those of real women, seeing them merely as mediums conveying a feeling. In conclusion, consistent with the idea of ballet as a less suitable medium for examination of broader, heavier matters, the female body as the primary communication tool in ballet is easily objectified and utilized in order to fulfill an escapist need for entertainment. It is presented as anything but what it really is, both by a total idealization of its looks and physical ability, and by limiting and flattening the complex, unique human identity that every woman is to one of two binary possibilities.